And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Well, the first flying weather graphic for Sunday morning shows 3 areas of IFR, one up here over the northeast interior from Yukon Flats out to the eastern Arctic coast, another one here back along the western Arctic coast, and then the large area out over the Bering Sea, extending down to Adak and westward, with good VFR for the southeast coast, central western part of the state, as well as Kodiak Island, right on up into the Susitna Valley. Then for the afternoon, we'll see this IFR zone in the northeast pulls back to the west. Still have some IFR here pulls back to the north, right along the coastline, and still have some along the western coast. And then this area out here advances eastward to the Pribilof Islands. And then for Monday morning, this big area of IFR in the Bering Sea closes in on the southwest coast, but not quite making it with some marginal VFR right along the coastline, north side of the Seward Peninsula, and then some IFR for the eastern Arctic coast, and IFR pushing northward, as you can see, coming onto the chart Sunday afternoon. Monday afternoon comes all the way up toward Montague Island, just to the east of Kodiak. And then for the afternoon Monday, that area disappears, left with areas of marginal VFR here along the North Gulf Coast and in toward the southeast coast, mostly VFR over the interior, south of the Brooks Range, and then down into Bristol Bay and Kodiak Island, IFR for the eastern Arctic coast, and mostly marginal VFR now for the Bering Sea, with some of that marginal condition into the Yukon Delta coast there, with areas of IFR for the central and western Aleutians. Passes, looks like a good VFR day coming up for both Anatuvik and Atigan on Sunday. And for the western Alaska Range, looking good as well. VFR for Lake Clark and Merrill, rainy VFR. VFR for Windy, VFR for Isabel. And Mentasta also forecasting VFR. Tanita, same forecast, VFR. And Portage, marginal VFR, especially on the eastern entrance. For Chilkoot and White, VFR. And for the freezing levels, 2,000 feet here over the northern part of the state. Western and central areas, eastern Bering Sea, 4,000 feet that extends down to the Alaska Peninsula, and about 6,000 to 8,000 feet there across the southeast coast. And for icing, big system down here over the northeast Pacific, slowly pushing icing northward here. Starting to pick up a little bit along the coast of Kodiak late in the day, and still some leftover isolated moderate areas of icing here for the North Gulf Coast. And then out to the west, another storm coming in, starting to show up some heavier icing out toward the Komodorsky Islands. And the jet stream here showing northwest winds, 110 to 115 knots right across the central Aleutians. Lighter winds over the eastern Pacific here and most of the interior. The stronger winds down here out of the west, 75 knots in across the southern panhandle. And at 9,000 feet, not much wind flow here going on, at least of any significance, over mainland Alaska as well as the Bering Sea and right on down the panhandle, but a big increase in the winds here with that system coming northward. And again, just coming up to just southeast of Kodiak Island tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, northerly winds here at 9,000 feet, central Aleutians, eastern Aleutians at about 30 to 35 knots. And for 3,000 feet, high pressure at this elevation, dominating much of the Bering Sea. Pretty much, or it is storm-free out there, although the next system starting to edge onto the chart there. But light winds over all of the interior from the Arctic coast down to the Gulf. And then this system coming northward, you can see some pretty good winds in advance of the front associated with it, 55 to 60 knots. And from there, looking at turbulence, might see an increase, some isolated moderate might show up across Kodiak Island late tomorrow afternoon, more likely tomorrow evening, tomorrow night. Otherwise, none of any significance elsewhere around the state.